to you today from the Southern Legend Outdoors Studio, the Be a Legend podcast. Brought to you from SouthernLegendOutdoors.com. And now your hosts, Kevin Bearfield and Carrie Nelson. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. It's your time now. Be a legend.
Welcome to another great episode of the Be a Legend podcast. Back at you tonight from Pontotoc, Mississippi. Got my brother-in-laws here with me tonight, Ken and Carrie again. Hey guys, how's it going?
Great, man.
Going good. Glad to be back. Glad to have had y'all come to the house again so we could cook up some grub. Ken was able to get here a little early, and we had turkey fried and had it grilled, and French fries and vegetables and sweet potatoes and bread and pie.
It's fine.
So I'm glad we do this sitting down.
Oh yes, for sure. Where'd those turkeys come from?
Well, I don't know where Ken's came from, but all of our turkeys were killed legal. And all of them were killed during season. Yeah. And they could have been killed in Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, or Oklahoma. And
The ones you prayed onto your property.
the ones I prayed. But now there is a few Kansas birds in my freezer, so we could have ate a Kansas bird tonight.
Well, they were all fine.
They were fine.
Well, we have several things to cover tonight. Football picks. You guys are a little ahead of me after last week. Miami let me down.
Yeah.
I thought they'd come through and take care of the LSU Tigers, but they got dominated. And so you guys are undefeated after last week. 7-0. I'm 6-1.
Yeah.
I talked Richard into going in with me on Miami, so he's down too, 6-1.
Yeah, he's anxious to get back in here after a while and give his 2 cents.
Now, this week's going to be a little bit more difficult as far as picking. Got some closer games coming up.
Well, let's go ahead and get into that. I guess probably the game that everyone's talking about around us would be Mississippi State traveling to Kansas State. State's an 8-point favorite in this game with over-under 54.5. You guys ready to make the pick? I mean, we picked the most challenging pick of this week right here off the start.
I'll get started on that after, one thing about being an Ole Miss fan and a Mississippi State fan, we all can agree on one thing. A lot of times when we're supposed to dominate somebody, we don't. Mississippi State, as recent with South Alabama, and us with multiple teams in the past, you're supposed to beat those teams, and you don't. Well, Mississippi State did not go wrong this past week with that. They come out 63-6, dominated.
Yep.
So they are who we thought they were.
Yep.
They got a great defense. They great running back, and it's just going to open up for their quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Kansas State don't know who they're going to start. They've got a quarterback controversy. Their coach has been there. He coached Noah's sons, Ham, Sham, and Japheth. I mean, he's been there forever. And so
just signed a new contract.
He signed a new contract, which his great-great-grandchildren's going to spend, not him.
Yeah.
But Mississippi State's going to Kansas State, and they're going to win by double digits.
Wow. Wow, that's a bold pick.
I don't know. It's going to be tough, on the road for State. But I'm going to still say Mississippi State. I don't know if they'll cover or not. Possibly.
Yeah.
So, but I will go with. I'll go with Mississippi State. I think it's going to be. I'm going to say under. 54.5. I think State will
more of a defensive battle.
Defensive battle. So I'll go with State.
Well, the quarterback, it'll be his first game. And you got to think Kansas State will play up for this game. They won their game last week, and State will have a target on their back right now. I mean, anytime you crack into the top 25, you're gonna have a target on your back. Teams are gonna look. They're gonna play up. They're gonna play better to beat you than they would an unranked opponent. So you never can tell. And they're playing in an area they're not really familiar with. I don't know that they have ever played. I didn't really look that up, but I don't know if they've ever played at Kansas State.
And don't forget about this. Fitzgerald really has to showcase in this game because, Keaton Thompson, even though it was who they play, Stephen F. Austin, whatever, still, he's going to have to prove something because this guy, Thompson, played in the bowl game and did well.
60.
Yeah, and then just this game did well. So,
yeah.
I mean, he hadn't disappointed.
Yeah, and he played well in the Egg Bowl.
He sure did.
I mean, what you done for me lately is the memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but Fitzgerald, I mean, he's multiple talented with passing and run.
Mm-hmm.
He can go both ways, and he's a guy that can kill you with his arm or with his legs. But will he be confident coming back with that Mississippi State didn't put a lot of contact on him after breaking the leg. That's with any injury, knee injury, any injury below the waist, from a hip injury to a knee injury to an ankle injury, it's different than one above the waist.
Yeah.
And as far as that contact, and he's going to come back. We'll see. Will there be a controversy in Starkville if they struggle?
They may be.
At halftime,
Very well
will we
be.
see a Nick Saban just to get through Kansas State? Will we see a decision to where we'll say, okay, we're going to give you another week off. We got to win this game.
Right.
Or will he come out and be dominant like we've seen him be dominant at the quarterback position and take it to the next level? I don't know. As an Ole Miss fan, we're sitting here waiting for some kind. I mean, that's just what we do with rivals. But no doubt, Fitzgerald is the man for that job. But with his time off, it's created a different. Had he not got hurt, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
Right.
Yeah. And playing with some pressure.
Lots of pressure.
Play with some pressure.
And apparently he got in trouble somehow, some way. He had to sit out. So that plays into
little
it
monkey
also.
on his back there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with you guys. I don't think this game will be as much of an offensive factor as a defensive. Mm-hmm. And I'm picking State purely off their defense. I think that they will play defense well enough and enough offense with either quarterback to win the game.
Oh, yeah.
So it'll be an interesting game. Looking forward to watching it. And so anyway, it carries us to our next game. The one that we're all three really interested in is Ole Miss and Southern Illinois. Not a lot to say other than to make a few comments about our game last week. What do you think, Ken?
Well, did well. Tiamu played well. Running backs played well. Receivers played well. Thought the defense picked it up in fourth quarter. Defensive line took a bad hit. Defensive back.
Yeah.
Jalen Jones. He had a touchdown return, kickoff return for a touchdown. And but anyway,
torn ACL.
Yeah,
he's out for the season.
Yeah, you're gonna have losses, and you gotta next guy up has got to step up. So look, Ole Miss should win this game by 50. I would, even though this SIU is supposed to be pretty decent, and they got a big defense, fast defense. They said they got several guys that's going to be drafted. So,
wow.
So anyway, we'll see. But I'm going with Ole Miss. Big. I know you are too, Kerry and Kevin.
Yeah. Well, and one thing about it is, I don't know anything about Murray State or Southern Illinois, but I know that Southern Illinois put 49 points up last week on the offensive side.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they only gave up 10 points.
They do know how to score.
So apparently they've been in end zone before.
They've seen the end zone.
And we've seen our defense at times, look like it don't know what it's doing. I do think that our defense got better as the game went on last week.
Yeah.
I think we closed out better than we have in the past. How good was Texas Tech? I don't know, but I know this. in game openers, I've seen coaches and teams in the past that we had high expectations lay an egg in the opening game
Yeah.
and against weaker opponents.
Yeah.
So I'm very encouraged. Our question mark has never been what's our offense going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Our question mark's been what's our defense going to look like.
Yeah.
I thought we tackled well in the open field. I thought we ran to the ball well. I thought scheme. I think a lot of times scheme has hurt us in the past, and I think the scheme was good overall. And when they began to move it early on, we made the quick adjustment.
Mm-hmm.
So, this game this week, you would think that Ole Miss would handle this convincingly, and I say that's what's going to happen. Ole Miss will win 40 plus.
Well, it really wasn't talked about a whole lot. When we think about Texas Tech, we think offense. I mean, they've always been a real potent offense, air it out, type style offense. And but this year, the talk about Texas Tech was their defense. The speed that they had.
Just about everybody back too.
Yeah, and so I mean, they lost their quarterback early, so that could have been a factor. But I think still, with the amount of points we put up, I don't think anyone could be disappointed in what they saw last week. And I mean, Texas, the game was in Houston, but that should have been like a home game for Texas Tech. And although I talked with several people, I think Ole Miss had as strong of a showing as Texas Tech did, and that's great that we had a following like that. But I'm with you. I think there's not even a line on the game. So, generally speaking, when that happens, we better win.
Right.
So we need to take care of business. The thing I'm probably concerned about, I think everyone is looking to next week. We get Bama at home.
Right.
And that will be the game. And so we got to take care of business Saturday. But
and tip your hat. We talked about Mississippi State already, and we've talked about Ole Miss already. And, tip your hat to both head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
First games as head coaches in the SEC. I know Matt Luke's been in the SEC, but he'd never been the head coach to where it was his deal. And he, and so for Mississippi State and Ole Miss fans, we should all – that was a big question mark for both fans. I know State fans excited about the new coach. We're excited about the new coach. But bottom line, they both come out, and we're not talking about them tonight, which tells you they didn't do anything terrible.
That's right.
Because that's usually when you talk about them, is when they make a bonehead mistake, lose a game. So hats off to both of those guys for putting their program in and coming out. And both teams, both schools, performed like we thought they would. With the exception, I think Ole Miss's defense performed better than we thought they might.
Yeah, great execution across the board.
Because I thought, I mean, I'm thinking there's 150 points going to be scored, and Ole Miss just shut that down in the second half, and that was great.
Mm-hmm.
How long has it been since Ole Miss did not have an offensive penalty?
Well, and me and Ken talked about this.
Didn't
Hey,
think
that's
about
right.
that.
We talked
That's
about
big.
this while we were cooking turkey tonight. And I made the comment, probably the most impressive position group on the field Saturday for Ole Miss was the offensive line.
It was.
Pass blocking, there was times that we had all day to throw,
Yeah.
And then we got a 200, I mean, we could sit here and talk, I know we're Ole Miss fans, but there is a lot to talk about. We got a 220-some-odd yard rusher.
Yeah.
Got SEC Offensive Player of the Week, and that's not something you've heard from Ole Miss in a while.
2010, since we had
A 200-yard
200-yard rusher.
And
So it's been a while.
That's a credit. That's not just a credit to the young man with the football. That's a credit to the men up front blocking for
With their pass protection, run blocking, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we hadn't had offensive penalty, we didn't have Rod Taylor this year. Rod Taylor had
Well, there you go, because he has had 3 in a row.
yeah. So anyway,
I will.
Right.
Before we move on, I will say this too: we won Offensive Player of the Week as running back, and then offensive lineman of the week with Greg Little,
Yeah.
to which he turned around and rightfully so said, this is a unit award.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. So that's most of the time in the past few years we've talked about if our line don't pick it up, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
And this time, if this line stays healthy, this offense with its position players, now with men in the trenches, and we all know one injury can change a whole season.
Yeah.
But if this line stays healthy, Ole Miss's offense is going to be top in the country again.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree. All right, Alabama takes on Arkansas State.
Alabama, Kerry, what about you?
36.5. Alabama's favorite.
66 over and under. I mean, let's go with
Well,
Alabama scoring 66.
Yeah, let's instead of talking about Alabama, let's compare Louisville and Arkansas State. If they can do to Louisville what they did to Louisville, can you imagine what they're going to do to Arkansas State?
I don't think a starter will see the field in the second half.
No.
This is one of them deals where Arkansas State comes in and they hope that they don't have to spend the millions of dollars that they receive for playing on medical insurance.
You'll see the Alabama's next crop of running backs in the late second quarter and third and fourth. You'll hear names we hadn't heard yet,
Right.
and you'll remember that guy in a
That's
couple
right.
of years. So that's what always happens. So Alabama all the way.
Is everybody Alabama here?
Yes,
I don't think
Alabama,
there's any.
Alabama.
Got about the same story down the road at Auburn.
Yeah.
Playing Alabama State, there's
Yeah.
not even a line on that
No,
game.
might as well skip that over.
So I really couldn't believe there was a line on the Alabama Arkansas State game, but
Listen, tip your hat to Auburn, to my Auburn friends.
Yeah.
I'll be with a bunch of them this weekend. By the way, I will be in Alabama this weekend with Alabama and Auburn fans preaching in a meeting, but with a Georgia pastor.
Oh, that's going to be great.
This
That'll be
church
fun.
was one of my churches. I was worried it would not make it if Georgia had won the national championship. I'd already told him, pack your bags, brother, because they finna run you out of town, Brother Brian Bridges.
oh yeah,
And when Tagalugo, or whatever his name is, throwed that pass and Alabama won, it broke his heart that his school lost, but it kept his job, I guarantee you. So we'll be in Alabama. But to my Auburn fans, apparently they have beat a team that most of the national media, sports media, didn't think they were going to win. And since they've even won, they still are talking about Washington winning out and getting in the playoff.
Yeah.
So this must be I don't know a lot about Washington, but I know that with all the talk, they must have been a lot better than we down here in the South would give them credit for.
yeah,
So for Auburn to do what they did is probably bigger than we know.
yeah.
But now Alabama State is just this is a money game for them and a scrimmage for Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should be boring
Yeah.
Yeah.
between those two games. LSU, Southeast Louisiana. I mean, we didn't even pick, did we, on Auburn? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
Auburn all the
Auburn,
way.
yeah.
LSU, we just go ahead
yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah.
CeeLo. Yeah,
Southeast, yeah. I don't know. No line on that game.
Yeah.
Got to give LSU credit
Yes,
for last
sir.
week.
Sure
I
do.
mean, Miami comes in there. I think Miami was ranked 8th, and LSU was 23rd, 22nd, somewhere. And rankings really don't mean a whole lot, we know, but I mean, they mean something. There's
Well, it's obvious Alabama's
You know.
at the place they should be, number one.
sure,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you,
but LSU looked incredible
yeah, you
against Miami.
Miami
I mean, they
ran
dominated.
off the first 10 games they won last year. Didn't
Yeah.
they win the first 10?
I think that's right. Yeah.
I mean, and they have a coach, Mark Richt. I mean, he's a
Oh, yeah.
he's a motivator, and those guys are playing for him. And man, LSU just took it to them. And
Dominated.
they were in disarray on the sidelines. You saw that. When you win and everything's great on the sideline. When you're losing, people's arguing. You saw a little bit of
Looked
that
like a deer in the
dissension of it.
headlights.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You saw that on the time. But
Yeah,
LSU, man, I think they for real, and they got a good running back like they always do. He's a senior, thank goodness. It's
Yeah.
not like a freshman Fournette coming in, but this guy's been waiting in the wings behind Geis last year and Fournette the years before. But did y'all see? Interesting, the first play of the game, who was that tailback
I
for
did not.
LSU?
I did not.
Fournette's brother.
Really?
Wow.
So there's another Fournette coming through. I didn't realize that, but he's a running back for LSU, and that's something. He's number 27, I think I saw. So
Well, Southeast Louisiana, just to make mention while we're coming from the great state of Mississippi, they're 0-1, and one of our native Mississippians right here in North Mississippi played high school football with my son, Marcus Green. Their team gave them their loss 34-31. That's who LSU's playing. Now, that going around the world to get a shout-out to Marcus, but
he had a
Marcus,
great game.
Sure.
we coached him when he was just a young man in baseball and grew up to be a great football player in the state of Mississippi. Nobody really looked at him around here, and he's been at Louisiana Monroe and made a name for himself, one of the top receivers in
All-American.
yes,
Preseason.
in the Division I football. So we wish Marcus well, and not a shot at Louisiana Monroe, but I'm just saying to Southeast Louisiana, if you can't take care of Louisiana Monroe, you're probably not going to take care of LSU. So I'm going to LSU all the way. They're not going to have a letdown. They look way too good to come out of a big win like that and have a letdown.
No line on that game either.
No.
So
LSU.
LSU. A little more interesting, Arkansas travels to Colorado State. And Arkansas is a 13.5 point favorite. But again, that's one of those you never know going on the road. Colorado State is 0-2 already. So they've already played 2 games.
They played that first.
Yeah, that early game.
Arkansas is supposed to win this game.
Yeah,
I mean,
think Arkansas takes care of business.
they'll win it by 30, at least 30. Colorado State, they're struggling. And but there's not going to be much of a game.
No. And they have been pretty well. They've give up almost 100 points this year.
Yeah.
And so they're going to get beat as well. Arkansas, all the way.
I like the coach. I like Arkansas's coach. I think he's going to put them where they need to be in position to do what they have to do. It's just they remind me of Ole Miss a little bit, the situation of their team. He's a new coach too now.
Yeah.
This is his second year, first year.
I believe this is his first.
His first year.
First year too.
Yeah.
So he's a same way. So I mean, they kind of remind you a little bit of Ole Miss, not as far as the offensive power, but just the caliber of team right now. You really don't know what to expect. But it won't be long until we do see that. So, but I'm Arkansas all the way.
And then probably the best game in the SEC this week will be Texas A&M hosting Clemson.
I can't wait to watch
Clemson is a 12-point favorite in this game, but it's at Texas A&M, and you never know. It's one of those games. But I mean, Clemson number 2 in the nation.
It's going to be hard to. It's hard to get a feel of that one.
Yeah.
You got to think Clemson's going to win this game, but if you were odds guy, 12 points at A&M, 106, whatever they have there now, it's one of the larger stadiums. And it's going to be loud. And has Clemson ever been there and had to face that?
Yeah.
It's it's going to be rowdy.
It will be.
I'm going with Clemson, Kevin. But A&M's going to stay close for a while. I think that they'll cover the 12, but I don't think they can beat them.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going Texas A&M, and let me tell you why.
enough.
I'm going to tell you why. Because the difference between Texas A&M of old and now is Jimbo Fisher, and he can win a big game.
Yeah.
And he can handle a big ranked team coming to his place, and they may not know nothing about it, but he does.
Jimbo and Dabo.
And Jimbo and Dabo. And you got 2 great guys. It's going to be a chess match, It's going to be, of course, I really thought, and then you think about that. You think, well, Mark Richt, he's going to go in and take care of Ed Orgeron. That ain't going to be no problem. And that didn't happen, okay? I thought it was at LSU. It ended up being in Dallas. It was at LSU, but it was in Dallas. This is at Texas A&M, and probably one of the loudest and most rowdiest,
intimidating places to play in the SEC.
But then Clemson plays in, their
Death
own
Valley.
Death Valley, and So I'm going SEC here. I know some of my Clemson fans. I mean, I even got family that likes Clemson, and so
I was wondering if that would come up.
yeah. I mean,
I wasn't going to let
yeah.
you get by
Yeah,
without addressing that.
I've got preachers that'll send me Marco Polos, and they're in that bright orange Clemson, of which I then say, I didn't know you was a Tennessee fan, and that starts the argument. But Texas A&M, I'm going to. That's going to be like your Miami pick last week. You kind of just, you went with your gut, and I'm going to go Texas A&M. I believe the SEC West is coming out undefeated again this week.
All right, Kevin.
Man, I thought everyone would go Clemson, and y'all make it really easy for me. Wow.
You got to break the tie. One of us will
decide-
not be
I-
undefeated next week.
That's right.
Yep, that's
if
true.
everything hangs on that game.
That's right.
That's true.
It's going to be tough.
I got to go with Clemson just because I think they've been there. But I'm with you. I mean, I do not think they will cover the spread, and I think, Kerry, you made valid points, and I think you could go. I think it could swing either way in this game.
Yeah.
Ken, you got family up around the South Carolina area. You want to throw that game into the mix this week?
Oh, yeah. Carolina and Georgia at Carolina. I got family in Columbia, Marion, Blythewood, Myrtle Beach, up in that area, Georgetown area. So, it's always a tough game, especially at Carolina. Georgia kind of dominates when it's usually close, but Georgia usually wins them. But one would think I would be saying I'm going with Carolina, but I'm not. I'm going with Georgia on this game. Georgia just got too much talent, too tough. The quarterback to the running backs to offensive, defensive line. It's going to be hard for Carolina. I think it'll be close. I think they'll cover, but I don't think they can beat Georgia.
I didn't catch the line on that game. Do you know what it was?
I looked. I did have it, but we can get that. I'll look for that. Kerry, what do you think about this game?
Well, I really think South Carolina's going to win this, and the reason I think South Carolina's going to win it is because nobody wants to see Alabama and Georgia in the national championship or in the SEC championship. And it's a 2:30 game. It's going to be 100 degrees. South Carolina heat.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's going to go, and the South Carolina's quarterback is going to put up record numbers. South Carolina by 10.
All right.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, I'll take it. I hope I'm wrong.
So that's going to break the tie between you guys.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I got to go with Georgia. I'm playing it safe this week.
Oh, yeah.
I got a
Comeback
little
mode.
risky last week, and I just think I wouldn't be surprised with what happens in this game. And South Carolina certainly has an advantage at home, so you never know. But my gut's telling me I got to go with Georgia.
The stadium there.
Yeah.
If it ain't swaying, it ain't playing.
Yeah.
The stadium,
Oh,
it
no.
moves. It's crazy.
And I'm actually preaching for a preacher in Alabama this weekend who is a Georgia fan.
Okay.
So if he hears that before the Saturday night service, I may get fired. I may be back home quicker than I thought. If he hears that, I'll just go ahead and call him and tell him, don't listen to the podcast on Monday.
Well, one thing I told you guys, we're going to throw a little surprise at you, a surprise pick this week. And, we've had our differences, all three of us. Again, big Ole Miss fans. We've had our differences with State fans over the past few years. But we seem to be unified this year in a different way in that we now all agree in one thing, that we all hate Dan Mullen. So State's finally gotten on board with us. They finally learned from their ways and realized what we tried to tell them for years about Mullen. We tried to tell them.
They dislike him worse than we do now.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
And I get tickled that, we did it to Houston Nutt. Yeah. We really did it to Tommy Tuberville.
Yep.
They've done it. He's the greatest coach in the history of our program. And then overnight, we've been wanting to see him gone for years. And he's, he took them to 8 bowl games. He's 6-2 in bowl games. He, they were 5 or 6 weeks in a row, #1 in the nation. He brought all kind of hype. He built that program up. But overnight, I'm telling you, overnight, I have not met a State fan since he left that has ever even said I liked him at all. They never liked him. They've been wishing he was gone forever. And so I'm going to say that every State fan, and of course every Ole Miss fan, is pulling for Kentucky this weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah.
And you said it right. I was talking to a State fan's a good friend of mine this week, and I said, it's very much like Tuberville was with us at Ole Miss. And I'll never forget Corey Peterson's catch at Auburn at the end of the game.
Oh, we was in the end zone.
We were there.
Yeah, we were there.
And
my goodness.
It's one of the biggest games of my life as an Ole Miss fan.
Yep.
Biggest wins on the road at Auburn to get Tuberville back. And I know State has the date marked on their calendar.
Oh, yeah.
For when Florida. It just works out great for them. This only happens every 7 years.
Yeah.
That Florida has to come to State. And they're coming to State this year. So a little redemption might be in their future. So how are we picking? Did you say Kentucky?
I'm going Kentucky, not just because of Mullen, but Kentucky, I think, has a legitimate quarterback that's a game changer.
Okay.
That's my reason.
All right. Well, I'm going Florida. Dan Mullen, no Dan Mullen.
Yeah.
I just think they're going to have – it's at Florida, correct? We
It
did
is
say
at
that.
Florida. Yep.
Just more athletes than Kentucky's got. I know that Dan Mullen has coached his quarterbacks well. And the quarterback that has not played well at Florida, I think he will play well this year with Dan Mullen coaching him. You like him or not, he can coach quarterbacks.
Yes.
Just look at his track record on that. So I am going with Florida in this game.
I agree. I'm going with Florida too, but only, and I want to state this for the record, because I want my pick to be able to be changed if Dan Mullen does any more dances in front of his players this week. Did you guys see the dance?
I did not see it.
It's very
It's
bad.
shameful.
Yeah, you remember that time?
I couldn't believe it was real. I actually did. You see it? Have you looked
No,
it
I
up?
hadn't seen it.
I didn't know if you looked it
I'll
up on
look it up.
Twitter.
Yeah.
It looked like someone, animated it and made it. But
Man.
it really happened. He really danced in the middle of the game in front of one of his
Did
players.
he do that at State?
I
don't know.
Well, I know he didn't do it during the Egg Bowl.
He was ready to get out of there. wasn't
Yeah.
he? Idiot. Yeah.
But-
And that was at Starville.
but don't you
I give
remember
him
the
2
time?
years.
Yeah,
I give
but
him 2 years at Florida.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze did a few dances in the locker room. Remember that? They get him going.
Yeah.
Like one of the Cotton Bowl or something we won, or Sugar Bowl or something, and he just went,
Yeah.
Yeah.
with
yeah.
the dancing. And you just want to
but
say, you just want to say, all right, you got no rhythm. Just, you're the head coach. Your name's on the sign.
Yeah.
You do not have to fall into the pressure of these 19-year-old kids and do something that's going to be on video the rest of your life.
But this dance was like, it was kind of a groove dance.
With
Like
no
he's
group.
dancing with a girl. Like maybe he's kind of grooving it. You know?
Yeah.
And the guy, the player is like
He
a foot and a half
Yeah,
taller
I saw
than he
it. I
is.
saw it. Yeah, it's pretty.
and he
good.
looks off like,
Yeah.
did my head coach just do that?
I can't wait to see it.
You got to see.
Oh
it.
yeah. He's not hearing the
You gotta
same
see
song Mullen was hearing.
No.
There's
No.
a different beat.
Well, we talk a little bit about. I went with Florida. Ken, Florida.
Kentucky.
Case, Kentucky.
And y'all two went
Okay.
with Georgia. There's gonna be
That's right.
there's gonna be some scores
we went with
changing at
Georgia.
this paper.
Yeah, it will. It'll be interesting next week. We talk a lot on this. We didn't say a lot last week, but we do want to say a lot about what this podcast is about being a legend, and that's why it's called the Be a Legend podcast. And I tried to say it in the opening week. This is not about trying to make. It's not about individualism. It's not about me or you, us trying to glorify ourselves. But I think it is an approach that we want to take in everything that we're doing with our youth hunts and some of the things that we've got coming up, that we want to teach a generation following behind us to leave something behind, and leave something for our kids and our youth that will make them better. And so it is a controversial topic, but I want to bring it up. I just want to get both of your thoughts on the Colin Kaepernick thing that come up this week. And for many of you probably know that are listening, if you've watched the news, if you've turned the TV on at all, you've seen the advertisement that Nike has brought out. And I, just to say from my standpoint, I just think it's a shame. I want to say that I'm proud to be an American. There have been times when I wasn't as proud to be an American as other times, but we never need to forget the sacrifice that so many have made so that we can do exactly what we're doing right here, right now. We can speak freely about issues, and I'm just thankful for that sacrifice. And I think the platform that he's used is not good for our country. It's divisive, and it's causing even further division. But I want to get you guys' thoughts on it, on the whole issue.
Well, Ken deals with veterans every day. So, Ken, tell us what you think about as far as, because it is an issue from an issue. He stood up for something, but during a time to where others felt like he was discrediting. And for what he stood up for, the injustice he stood up for, now seems to be an injustice toward another group. He stood up for the injustice of one group and created an injustice toward another group. Mm-hmm. And that group is our veterans and our flag, mm-hmm. which we don't do that during a ball game for no other reason than to honor our country,
right.
honor our veterans. That's the
right.
whole purpose of that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, taking that new purpose, everybody that has anything to stand up for, if everybody knelt for what they believed in during the national anthem, nobody'd be standing.
Sure, that's true.
It's not that national anthem is for a moment of silence to thank God for the country you're in and for those who have given their lives and are giving their lives for it. Tell us about the veterans that you deal with every day.
Well, and one thing we can't forget the group is our active military.
That's true.
Not just the ones that's fought for our freedom and are at home and are suffering right now, and homeless, gave everything they had. They don't have anything.
That's right. Now,
so we can't forget about our active military that's serving right now. How do they feel?
Yeah.
I mean, they're sitting there. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of them do. They sit over there and watch
football
during
games.
their downtime, watch football games. Then they got to watch that. And they're on the other side of the world fighting for the same people that's not just disrespecting them. So, but anyway, we deal at MedMart, we deal a lot with the veterans. We install lifts and repair chairs and assemble chairs and put in ramps and things of that nature for our veterans. And we see them every day, and we see the look on their faces. And when you talk to them about some of this stuff, some will talk to you, some won't. So they're hurting. Mm-hmm. And like we spoke earlier, some of them, I'll tell you real quick, we fought for, so they could protest, the freedom to protest, but they also would tell you this, it needs to be done in the right way on a different platform. So it's a political thing. It's a money thing. We've talked about that with Nike. Yeah. They're not doing it for nothing.
No.
They're doing it to make money.
Nike may be the ultimate bad guy in this situation because they're trying to exploit both
They didn't have
sides.
to do this. They didn't have to do it.
No.
They knew exactly what it was going to do, but they sacrificed that to make a little bit more money. Like you said, I think their stock went back up today. So, I mean, it didn't suffer too much. So, with that being said, when you deal with them every day and you see, I mean, you see a guy missing a hand, missing both legs, just sickness from Korea, how cold it was over there, and they developed all these lung issues and Agent Orange issues in Vietnam. I never did know what Agent Orange really was. I thought it was a chemical that Vietnam, I thought the Vietnamese put out to poison our guys, but it was the poison that we put out to kill the brushback so we could see them. And our guys inhaled that, and that's Agent Orange that we put out. I didn't realize that. But anyway, you learn a lot of stuff talking to these veterans.
Sure.
Sometimes you learn more than what you really want to know. But yeah, it's a sad issue, and Kerry can explain it as well as anybody. But it's something needs to come and go. We all need to come together on this deal and get it behind us. And
well, we are together on it, to the point that we do believe what Colin Kaepernick believes, that injustice to any group of people is wrong. Nobody is ever, and I think on one side you got people that are standing up for the veterans. They don't want to hear what they got. They don't want to hear nothing about Colin Kaepernick. They'll say he's nothing but a thug. I can't believe that. But then on his side you got people support him that looks across there and says, y'all don't want us standing up for nothing. This ain't about the flag, okay? So how do you come together on this? Well, number one, you look at Colin Kaepernick. He's standing up for what we understand, police brutality against minorities. Mm-hmm. All right, that's what he's standing up for. All right, and I know nobody that's,
which is a noble cause to stand up for.
Nobody's against that.
Right.
All right. So, and my take of it is he used the national anthem as a time because he knew he'd get the attention to say, here's what I'm standing up for. Okay, you did that. You got the attention. But once you got that attention, then the people that felt that you was disgracing the flag feels like there's an injustice there. So now that you did it, whether you meant to be an injustice to the people of war and the veterans and all that or not, you did. Okay, you did. Mm-hmm. So now take that same platform, and instead of stepping out of the public's eye and letting this thing escalate like you did. And now every team's got people doing it, all the way down to college teams, all the way down to high school teams, all the way down to youth teams who are bowing, and they don't even know why they're bowing. They're just bowing because somebody said don't bow. And that's where Be a Legend, what we're talking about, where we can educate each side is, we're not just going to protest or fight about something just because we say we're fighting. We need to come together. There is nobody sitting at this table that has any racial bones in our body. I have none. I preach the gospel to all creatures. I don't care where. I've spent time in different countries, different neighborhoods, different churches. And when I say to you that I'm not a racist, I can say that honestly.
Yeah.
But my problem is, you have drawn lines in the sand. You have said that this is a racial issue. It is not a racial issue.
No, it's not.
It's an issue that a man stood up for what he believed in, and he has every right to do that. He has every right to stand up against police brutality. But in standing up for your rights, you do not have the right to pass injustice on to other people's rights. Right. I would respect him more if he stood up and said, this is not what I meant. I was not trying to discredit our veterans, because the story has it that he had spoken to a veteran who said bowing was honor when they bowed to give a widow the flag at a funeral. This is one story that I read. That's where he came up with it. But that's not how it was perceived. It was perceived as disrespect to the flag. So now step up and say, look, we're not going to be bowing at the flag anymore because of the way this looks. Right. But we're not going to keep sitting back and letting this police brutality happen.
Yeah.
I believe he would have had more unification of America for his cause by saying what I'm just saying, that he was not trying to shame a veteran, at the beginning.
Yeah, schedule a press conference.
And with the money...
CNN, CNBC,
exactly.
Get your press conference and announce it.
He's lost credibility because he hasn't.
Yeah.
come out and
right.
said.
That's right.
And I think that's where his credibility is shot in his cause. And though we would all say that we're against police brutality. Period. If it's
not even
black
a question.
on white, white on black,
If
it's Hispanic, it doesn't matter. No one in their right mind is for that. And I guess it's a matter of his motive. What is his motive behind it? Is it of personal gain motive? Certainly, he has in the Nike commercial believe in something. If it means you lose everything or sacrifice everything, I don't see the man sacrificing a whole lot. They claim that he lost his career in the NFL. Let's be honest, before this ever occurred, he had already lost his position.
He did.
And let's also say, if he was winning games, if he was producing on the field, it wouldn't matter what he did, because that sells tickets and that wins games. And let's be honest, the NFL is in it to make money as well. So if he was producing the dollars and putting the fans in the seats and producing the wins, I just don't think he has sacrificed everything as it's being portrayed. And I want to see his motivation with his contract. Let's see how much money out of this Nike contract he puts back into the community. Let's see if he's willing to back it. And if he does that, hey, I'll give him credit. I'll say okay, but I don't think we're going to see that happen. But who knows?
Well, and before we leave this subject, let's just be honest. We talk about, hey, we're hunters. We want to make that obvious. We are Ole Miss fans. We want to make that obvious. We've made some things. I'm a born again child of God.
Yeah.
I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
Okay. So I go back to the NFL. One of the things, I guess I'm lumped into this question mark, big question mark. My heart and my mind is, okay, so these guys are bowing during the national anthem, of which there is a rule in place at that particular time. You had to stand, or there would be a fine. We have players that wear Bible verses, or they will have scriptures, and they've been fined. They cannot do that. Socks.
Yeah.
Promoting what they want to believe in, they get fined for it. Then we have Tim Tebow. He's Tebowing. He's on his knee. He's praising God for. He's being fined. You can't do that. You can't wear John 3:16 on your shirt at a press conference. All of this stuff, but then you can bow during the national anthem
against the
rule.
Yeah.
And then what I'm saying is, just as people had an outcry to the NFL when the Christian things was going on, and nobody got mad about that. Nobody said, I can't believe y'all mad at the NFL. Well, it's the same thing. People are crying out saying, hey, make your players stand.
Yeah.
And then people's like, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is, if you're going to penalize and punish for one thing, then you're going to have to for the other. So the NFL loses credibility.
That's right.
Because they're afraid to stand up for their own rules.
Yeah.
And so all of this goes into one pot, and what you get is a pot full of confusion,
inconsistency.
And here's what happens in the United States of America when nobody knows facts and everybody's confused. It automatically becomes a racist issue.
Yeah.
Automatically, when you can't cry nothing, you got to cry racism. Yeah. And I'm telling you, we are from Mississippi, from the South, the Redneckville, Mississippi. Okay, that's what people will say about us in the national media. They think we can't communicate. They think we can't operate. They think we're
landmass.
You're right. We're educationally hindered. But I'm telling you, Mississippians today, and I can't go back 100 years. I don't know, but today, the people that I run with, the people that I know on a daily basis, are as least racial people of anybody that I know.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know people right now that see no color whatsoever. But when anybody can't find something to blame it on, they're going to bring up racism. And that's what's happened in this whole deal. Everything got thrown in the pot. Nobody knew all the facts. So it's got to be something racial. And I'm telling you, I'm against police brutality. I'm against injustice toward minorities, majorities, or whoever you want to call it. But don't take your injustice and make another injustice.
That's right.
That's my point.
That's a great point. And I think we all agree, and everyone sitting at this table would do anything to help anyone out of any color if they were in need.
We do every day, don't we?
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say. It's my life.
Yeah.
It's my life.
And some of the best friends I have are black people, so I certainly, if they tune in, I don't want them to think this is not, again, as you said, this is not a racial issue. We are commanded to love everyone, and I think everyone at this table does that.
Sure.
But this is an opportunity for us to educate, and hopefully it's an opportunity to unite. And
Yes.
hopefully that will happen as a result of this. It is a controversial issue, so we'll see what happens down the road. Let's move on. We're kind of getting toward the end of the podcast, and we haven't talked a lot about hunting, but there's not a whole lot to talk about after this past weekend. It was the opening weekend of dove season, but I didn't hear a lot of success stories. But how did you guys come out?
Okay. Did you kill as many as I did on, you could count on one hand, or?
I took a camera again this year. Last year, I took a camera, and I finally had to decide which bird to film because so many birds being shot out there. Birds everywhere last year.
Yeah.
This year, true story, I do not have one single kill shot on camera because it was such long intervals between the birds coming in that I didn't get. And the birds coming in, they were coming in like ones and twos. I mean, you didn't recognize them until after they got in.
Yeah.
Couldn't see them really coming,
Yeah.
And so, as a videographer, this was a terrible hunt for that. And if you were trying to feed your family, and they're going to go hungry.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting there, we killed 4 or 5 birds, and it's 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we hear a vehicle driving up to the field. We parked and we walked a good piece. Had a couple of side-by-sides we rode up, but we heard something coming up. And I looked around and I saw a green truck coming up.
Uh-oh.
I said, that's about right. He's going to get a kick out of this. We don't have the birds, maybe he thinks we've
And
killed
this was on your property, right?
Yeah, this is on the Montgomery property in Randolph. And so anyway, make a long story short, everybody on the field, we were fine. Everybody had their license. The field was legal. And but the game warden checked everybody and checked the guns and checked license and checked for birds. He kind of looked around. Nobody really had anything. But it was slow, and he said it had been really bad slow, the fields he had checked prior to ours. But we did do a little bit better Monday, went to a different place, and we killed a few more birds. But it's I have never been on just one of those hunts like you had last year.
Yeah.
Couldn't keep your gun loaded.
Wow.
And I think too, it's all about the area you're in. I've heard that a lot. You got on up the road from where we were at Randolph, they killed hundreds and hundreds of birds on south of us. And north of us, they've killed hundreds and hundreds of them. And I think we've never.
And I'm
really
sure
had
they're
any-
thankful that you had the game warden down on your field if they
Yeah,
killed hundreds and hundreds.
yeah. I'm talking 300 or 400.
Hey, appreciate y'all.
And
man.
we get checked. We killed 10 birds total.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't call any names there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and people down the road kill 300, 400, 500 birds, and
Yeah.
I don't know if they got checked. I didn't hear about it, but I'd like to heard about that, But hey, there's always another day for hunting.
Well,
so.
we had. I'm gonna tell you this. We had a tremendous breakfast about 8:40.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was over with.
It was over with. We was all back at the house.
Got back in time for the game.
Got back. Hey, I was back an hour before Ole Miss kicked off.
Yeah.
Got a nap
Yeah.
from getting up at 3:45. But the chocolate gravy, biscuits, bacon, sausage, eggs that Richard's mother, Nadley, whipped up for all the hunters.
Nice.
She, we're gonna have to give her props, Rich. We're gonna have to give her props. So.
Hey, if you're not killed, we can always eat.
Always eat.
Hey guys, I got something for y'all that I got ahead of the game this week. Tuesday, I saw the weather coming in.
Yeah.
I was at the office about 10, 11 o'clock. I saw the hurricane tropical storm, look the path it was going to take. And so anyway, about 2 o'clock, I cut out, went and got all my seed, fertilized, beans, the whole deal. And I already had my plots cut up. We had talked about that last podcast. Mm-hmm. And I got all of my food plots planted before all this weather came in.
Good
You
for
the
you.
man.
So it's looking like, we got a lot more rain today. And it looks like over the next week we're going to get some rain. So, we always talk about planting them too early, thinking, but mine have never, I can remember dove hunting, same type dove hunts we had, kill 5 birds by 8 o'clock. You think you need to do something. Well, let's go ahead and plant.
Yeah.
Right.
We used to always do that 1st of September, and my plots I've never had a plot burn up. Maybe been a little bit spotty, but it just didn't burn up. So I'm a believer in getting them in.
Yeah.
And getting them up, because I love to have that fresh grass up October 1st bow hunting.
The problem the last 2 years has just been dry.
No, right. Hey,
you were so hesitant.
Last year, I did the same thing. It was about a week later, week from now, and I was locking my gate at 2 o'clock in the morning. I saw rain coming in. I left the office about 4 o'clock, went and got and I had to cut up and everything. I didn't have anything done, but I had them all round up. But I did it all myself. I think it was about 10 plots. Cut them up, sowed them, fertilized, haired them back over. Key is hairing your plots.
Yeah.
For the moisture. So if you don't have rain, that seed's covered. It's still there.
Yeah.
And a little bit harder.
Well, you said something too right there that just struck, just kind of off the cuff when we're talking about plots. I personally like to plant them later.
Yeah. A lot of people do.
But let me tell you why.
A lot of people do.
I'm not a big bow hunter.
Right.
And so bow hunters, Ken's just said something. When it comes October the 1st in Mississippi and it's time to bow hunt, they don't want tractors running and dust flying and noise going. You want to go to your property, get in your favorite bow spot and hunt. And so I guess the mentality of that, some of my best plots, I've waited to end October to plant.
Yeah.
Because of dryness.
Yeah.
And then with my lifestyle of being on the road all the time, I a lot of times don't get to pick the weather. I have to pick the dates that I'm home.
Yeah.
So you make a great point. We're not big, but we do bow hunt. But it's not, a must with us.
Right.
And one of the reasons is because of filming. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, because of filming, and I do not climb. I'm just not climbing no tree.
Yeah.
I'll get in a ladder stand. If I see it's got 16 straps and I strapped every one of them, I'm up that thing. But I'm not a big climber.
Yeah.
I just always seen myself as the statistic. I'm going to be that guy on the front cover of the magazine, that was a great guy and we wish his family well, but he fell out the tree. I could just see that. So Cody Kaysen, who listens to our podcast, I got to tell this before we move on. He wanted me to climb. Brother Kerry's in our church. He's been in our church all of his life. His daddy, one of the dearest friends I've ever had, Joe Kaysen. They climb. Joe will climb about 20, 25 feet. And when I tell y'all this, I'm not making it up. Cody will climb out of hearing. He'll climb 40 feet. He'll climb up so high that you'll walk in the scope of woods and you can't find him.
It's crazy.
And so I've said to him, Cody, I love you and everything. I want to say the right stuff at your funeral. So what do you need me to say?
How old is Cody?
Cody is probably 30 now, 30-ish, and
some of those things will change.
And he has. He's got a little bit shorter up the tree, but he's like, Brother Kerry, you need to climb, man. And so, man, them gorilla climbers. Yeah. I went I went and bought one, $400 and something. I bought the safest one, it came with, so we go down, we hunt one morning. I got in a lean-to, a 16-foot ladder, and he was going to teach me how to climb. And so I hooked that thing in. I got inside of it, had it open, where I could pull the leg up. And he said, now don't look down, just look straight out and start climbing. You got to get you freer of heights, So I mean, literally, I felt like I'd been climbing, a good 30 minutes. And so I said, okay, I'm high enough now. And he said, okay, well, look down. And when I looked down, he still had his hand on the bottom. True story, man. He tells it all the time. And I looked down and I said, that's as high as I went? And he's like, that's as high as you went. And I said, well, there's a good climber for sale, man. So But my point is, bow hunters
Yeah.
have a different mentality of getting their plots in because they're already fixing to get serious about hunting.
True.
Than people like me that opening day of youth season, mid-October.
Let me tell you about kinfolk. Everybody knows him around here, Howard Carnes. He has one of the best places around Fayette County. He's always told me. He plants the beans and the corn, leaves it standing for his deer and turkeys. And we'll run over some of it, but he said they always want that little bit of grass. Just that little bit of grass out in the field.
Yeah.
They'll sometimes they will spend a lot of time with fertilizer and soil
Sure.
samples and make sure you get everything right. But we seen them walk past all the beans and the corn just to go get that fresh bite of grass, that new
Yeah.
growth, So I learned that from him, so I'm giving him credit for that.
Shout out to Howard Carnes.
Howard Carnes. So he's got a beautiful place.
He's let Richard
Oh yeah,
come and turkey hunt,
beautiful
deer
cabin,
hunt, and
beautiful place,
so
beautiful place.
yeah, we love how. If you don't love Howard Carnes, then you got a problem with Jesus. I just go ahead and put it out there.
He'll do anything for you.
If you can't love
Anything
Howard
possible.
Carnes, then you need to get right with Jesus. And if you'll call me, I can give you some scripture on how to do that.
Yeah. He is fine.
He is.
Fine man. I got to go on a trip with him to Montana.
Oh, yeah.
On a mule deer hunt.
Oh, yeah.
And we had a great time. Got to video him. We got to film a hunt for Howard
How
out
about
there.
that?
And
We need to have Howard on the show one time.
Oh
yeah, we do.
We need to have Howard on the show at his cabin.
Yes, that's what
Oh,
we
yeah.
need to do.
After he fixes us a steak
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah. Oh me.
You know, you was talking about climbing. I got to share this story. I go back, and that's what I was saying about Cody. As young as he is, that will change as you get older and as you gain weight, right? So after a few kids, and we add a few pounds, but I still like to go back to a place back in the day when I was a kid. We didn't have land and resources like we have now. We hunted government woods for the most part. That's what I hunted growing up as a kid. And you know how you guys know, the stand that I used to love to hunt was a split tree. It was a single tree going up, and it split at about the 20-foot point. Cotton picker spindles. Mm-hmm. Nailed in the tree. That's what we climbed, was cotton picker spindles.
Many times.
And I go back and look at that, I think, man, I had lost my mind. In the split, basically it was a couple of 2x4s with cross pieces.
Right.
No back, no safety strap, and I'm out there as a 15-year-old kid in the government woods, and I'm talking deep in the government woods.
No cell phone to call nobody.
Cell phone.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, man, I had to be out of my mind, and probably 40 feet in the air.
We were.
If my dad here would be my witness to say, and my mom would kill me, and I would never let my son do anything like that.
Yeah.
But when you're young, you'll brave you'll brave some things that you.
This is be a legend, not be an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we do.
Exactly. Well, we want to talk more about hunting, and as we get closer to season, I know we spent a lot of time talking about football. We're excited about, we talk about a lot of different things on here, and I just want to thank you guys again for being a part of this, and we're getting more and more comments each week about what we're doing here, and I think, we want to be consistent with it. We're going to try to do this every week, and then we'll have some interval podcasts as we enter into hunting season that we're going to do a Facebook Live. We've talked about that. A few of the things, one of the things we've got to do tonight, this week we released and said we're going to do a giveaway of a Southern Legend Outdoors cap. We're going to try to do some things like that from time to time. We've got some other giveaways coming up. We want to tell you about one, but I said this week we'd do a giveaway, and so I've got the drawing here. And I'm going to let Richard.
Let's let Richard.
Richard's
Richard's in the studio.
Richard joined us again. He's going to give us some.
Come on up, Rich.
He's going to give us some picks. Give us his weekly picks tonight here at the end at the podcast. But I'd like to have Richard here if he'd do the drawing for our winner of the cap, and then we'll get that out to the winner. Just pick one there, Richard. All right, and then Carrie's going to read out.
I'm going to read it.
The winner here.
Kathy Swords.
Kathy Swords. So, Miss Kathy, you are the winner.
Kathy Swords gets
of a Southern Legend Outdoors cap, and we'll make sure that we put that out there on your Facebook post. We appreciate you posting this week and putting your photo up. I think she put a photo up of the Bulldogs. Maybe it was her son. I know
Man.
Ken's he's struggling over there.
Come
with
on,
that.
Kathy.
But anyway,
Richard said, "All right, Kathy."
Richard.
That's why you pulled her out there.
Yeah.
Because y'all on the same side.
Fixed.
But a couple of things we want to tell you about. One in particular, we're going to do 3 free filmed youth deer hunts this year in 3 different locations. Real important that you pay attention to what we're going to tell you here about this. We need some help sharing what we're doing here on this podcast, and we truly want to make a difference. Not a single person at this table is making a dime.
No.
I want to set that straight. In fact, I've spent money, so I'm in the hole. I have to try to explain to my wife why this is. When she sees the money that maybe is going out for this. So, but we do want to make a difference, and especially with our youth, we're going to do these 3 filmed youth deer hunts. We're going to do them in 3 different locations. We're going to do one at Ken's farm at Pontotoc Triple B Farm, and got an outstanding farm.
And he may have the only food plots because he's got
Yeah,
his plan.
that's true. He
Yeah,
does have his
all 3
plan.
hunts may end up at Ken.
Then Carrie's going to host one
By His Grace Outdoors.
By His Grace Outdoors. He has some outstanding property and some great locations. And then I will also be hosting one in Tippah County on our farm.
Yes.
So we're really excited about doing that. We're going to film those hunts, and I think all 3 of these opportunities these kids will have great opportunities for a kill.
Yes.
And we're going to do that. That hunt will be on November 10th.
November 10th.
We're going to do 3 giveaways, and we're going to have you each week to basically what we want you to do in order to enter for this. This week, you need to share and comment with the words "By His Grace Outdoors." If you will share our podcast from our Facebook page, and in the comment, we need you to put the words "By His Grace Outdoors." That's the only way you can enter to win this hunt. Because each week at the end of the podcast, we're going to give you key words to put in the comment that's going to help enter you or the child.
Yes.
Wouldn't be you; it'd be the child of your
Right.
choice. And we do need to also state that this hunt will need to be accompanied with an adult. We need an adult
with a guardian.
a guardian
that will hunt with them.
That will hunt with them,
and stay
then
with them
we'll
during
be
the day.
there as well
Oh, yeah.
to assist with the.
They'll have a guide, have a cameraman, and
Yeah.
then we just need a guardian with that child. And for many reasons, but the main reason is for that child out into, that child don't know us.
Yeah.
They may never have met us. So the comfort zone of knowing that their parent, whether it's a parent or a grandparent or whoever their guardian is, we take kids all the time that the guardian isn't even blood related, but maybe it's an adopted child or just who's taking care, fostering the child.
Yeah.
So we just need at least one guardian.
So if you'll share this podcast from our Facebook page, once we release that, we'll automatically enter you for a drawing and the child of your choice. And I appreciate Carrie and Ken offering up their properties as well.
And that drawing,
drawing will be on September 27th.
right during
We'll
the
draw
podcast.
3 different youth. Next week we will have a new comment word that you'll need to put in next week and share. So stay tuned. Come listen to our podcast. We appreciate those of you out there that are already listening. We also want to encourage you to go to our website, www.southernlegendoutdoors.com. We're going to have a lot of pics, a lot of information that we're going to be posting out there in the upcoming weeks. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/Southern Legend Outdoors. So make sure you go drop in on our Facebook page. And the podcast, go to Podbean in the App Store, Google app or the Apple App Store, and download Podbean and look up Southern Legend Outdoors or Be a Legend, and it will take you to our podcast page, and you can follow us, and it'll notify you each week once we get a podcast uploaded to the server. So we're really excited about that. As we said earlier, Richard's joined us tonight. Richard, we're glad to have you back. He's going to give us our guest pick for the week.
Before we go any further, Ken and Kerry are leading over Kevin and Richard. Not that y'all are a team,
By one.
but y'all both picked Miami. That didn't really work out well for you. And, you can holler at Coach Mark Rick. I always want to call him Reich, but Rick, and, deal with him. Coach Orgeron took care of your mind. So, yeah, there you go. That's him. All right, so we're going to ask you, give us first pick. Alabama, Arkansas State. Who's going to win? Alabama. All right. Auburn or Alabama State?
Tough.
Auburn.
Auburn.
All right. LSU or Southeastern Louisiana? LSU. All right. What about Arkansas or Colorado State? Arkansas.
Good pick.
All right. Here's a big game. One of the biggest games of the week. At Texas A&M, number 2 Clemson comes rolling in.
Oh, no doubt. Number nothing,
Texas A&M. All right, that's what I did. I went
SEC.
I went with them too. They went with Clemson.
The SEC is hard.
It's hard to beat them. Man. Hey, they got 700,000 fans. 100 and something thousand. No brainer.
No
Texas
brainer.
A&M. All right, now Ole Miss at home against Southern Illinois.
Oh, man.
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
All right, now the game of the week for you. Your Bulldogs, 1-0, have scored 60 points plus already this year in one game, are going to Kansas State with the return of senior quarterback Nick Fitzgerald.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so the question, I want to ask you this question first. Does Nick Fitzgerald get the start this weekend? You think he's going to start?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Fitzgerald starting against Kansas State on the road. Who's winning?
Oh, Fitzgerald, MSU.
MSU. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we'll see how you pick. Me and you are like you and Kevin last week. They got Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
We got Texas A&M, so we'll see how we come out.
Oh, get him on Florida and South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. We
Or
got to
Florida,
get.
Florida and Kentucky.
All right, but we
And
picked
South Carolina and
Georgia.
Yeah.
All right, Georgia, number 3. They number 3 in the country?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Georgia is headed to South Carolina, but it's a middle of the day game. 2:30 start, 100-degree South Carolina weather. Who wins?
I already know this.
Oh.
Carolina.
South
Carolina.
Carolina. That's where
Wow.
I went.
Oh, yeah.
All right, South Carolina. All right, your guy that used to be the head coach there.
Yeah, he really likes.
By the way, just for the record, for all of our listeners, before we conclude this podcast, me and Richard's riding down the road the other day. Well, let me take that back. We're riding down the road in the middle of the morning. We're headed back from a long trip, 8-hour drive, just me and him talking. Michelle's in the back seat in a semi-coma, snoring. And so we start talking about football. He's trying to keep me awake. I'm drinking coffee. It's 2 a.m. So we start talking about football. This is a couple of weeks ago. And so I said to he just like every State fan, acts like Dan Mullen never existed. Like he never come through starting. He's a traitor. I don't care that he went home. He's a traitor.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Dan Mullen and all that stuff. And I said, Richard, he's the greatest coach in the history of your program. To which Richard said to me, no, he is not the greatest coach in the history of our program. And I said, well, I think he's going to say Jackie Sherrill because that's the only 2 coaches in the history of their program that had any winning seasons, like they did.
Yeah.
And He's like, no. And I said, well, Jackie Sherrill? No. And I said, well, who are you talking about? And he said, I've got a signed picture of him at my house. Guess who he's talking about? Sylvester Croom.
Sylvester Croom.
I said, Richard, he went 2-10 in the SEC. How is he how is he the... And he went, well, I got a signed picture by him. I said, well, that don't make him a winner. So, back to the point. Your guy, Dan Mullen, that used to be your guy, is at Florida.
Oh, yeah.
He is hosting Kentucky, who Kentucky believes this is their year to make a run in the East.
Oh, yeah. They will thump out Florida.
They're going to stomp out Florida. You're going on feeling, not fact, ain't you?
I'm with the guy that goes to
Seth.
Seth.
I gave him a shout out.
Oh, yeah. Seth Kaysen, your team is gonna win.
Okay, so Richard went with Kentucky.
Went with Kentucky.
That's fun,
Wow.
man. Richard makes it fun.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, it's been a fun podcast. Richard, thank you for joining us again tonight.
Oh, yeah.
It's been
But it's
awesome.
kind of hard. We're in his room.
Yeah.
It's hard for him not to. Appreciate you lending your man cave.
That's right. That's right.
No problem.
Looking forward to next week. Tune in, and we'll be back real soon with a new podcast. And we're going to have some guests coming up. Just to mention, we've got some guests lined up in the upcoming weeks. So look forward to that.
Don't forget to share.
Don't forget to share.
Don't forget to
Hey,
share. Youth hunt. You can win a youth hunt. It includes food, hunt, videography, all of the great things that comes with hunting.
And we shooting deer.
And listen, we popping caps. We are
Yep.
we are but here's the thing. Share it from your Facebook page and in the comment by His Grace Outdoors this week.
Share the podcast.
And September 27th we'll have a drawing. And so we're excited about it. Hey, and listen, I'm fixing to be on the road. I know these guys will be doing. We're fixing to have some guests on the road.
Yep.
I'm going to be. I know Alabama, Tennessee. I'll be in Illinois. I'm excited because in December we are going to do a podcast. I'm going to be in Central America on the 6 miles from the border of Guatemala, and I can promise you we're doing a podcast
That'll
that
be
week,
awesome.
and I'm going to do it by phone. There's
Awesome.
one little spot you can get service. I found it while I was over there in February.
Imagine that.
So, hey, we're going
That'd be great.
worldwide with this thing.
Awesome.
I may get a catchy Indian to give me an Ole Miss pick that week.
That'd be great.
Actually, it'll be in December. We won't be playing.
All right, guys. We'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. It's your time now. Be a legend.